To send you over at Create It, Launch It, Profit. And yes, we had a major incident. No, it was not a major incident. It kind of was, because that was one of the best Facebook Lives I've ever done on Create It, Launch It, Profit. And I used a whiteboard, and I sent you guys some links that are really, really important, I think, for you to have if you're in business. And the audio didn't work. So sorry about that. And what's even worse is that it showed there were 30 people on at some point watching live, and not one person said, hey, we can't hear you. Remember, when you're watching any of my stuff, I don't care if you're watching other people's stuff, when you're watching my stuff, if the video is bad, if the audio is bad, and I'm like rambling on as if I don't know, please tell me. Please just simply come on and say, hey, I can't hear you. And in many cases, unfortunately, it is you. It isn't necessarily us, because I've been on many Facebook Lives where I can't hear you, or in webinars we can't hear you, and then the other 100 people on there says, oh, I can hear you just fine. So I still need to know. I need to know that you can't hear me. Is this in the way? I'm not sure if that tripod was sitting right there in front of me. And so yeah, it was a major failure. So I was using Webinar Jam. I don't believe it was necessarily, I think it was operator error. I think I didn't check the connections. Now, when you're using other stuff, and that's one of the reasons I came back to let you know, that when you're using, your platforms, whether you're using, like right now, I'm going live directly on Facebook. So let's see if, I wonder what this is going to look like if I change it over to the other camera. Oh yeah, there we go. Whoa. So I'm broadcasting directly into Facebook. Let's go to good job. There we go. So you don't have to see all the extra stuff as I'm switching back to my camera. So yeah, so I'm broadcasting directly into Facebook. I've not done that very often. So it was funny because I do a lot of Facebook Lives. I just don't do Facebook Lives from Facebook, from the desktop, the PC, Chrome version of Facebook Live. So it was one of the, I don't know that I've ever set up from my computer. I'm always using some other type of shenanigans, like BeLive TV, Blue Jeans, Mima Live, OBS, and have not. I'm wondering if that might have been my first time using Facebook Live from Facebook. It's possible. So, what I was going to tell you. So when you're using these platforms, you got to check, especially if it's your first time, you got to check the connection. So when I went live on Facebook, now I'm getting to my point, is that when I'm looking at the connections, right, there's almost always, and I don't know if there's any exceptions to this, there's almost always a selection for what camera you're going to use. So when I hit the drop-down menu, pretty consistently, I have Logitech, webcam. I have Blackmagic box, which is allowing me to switch between this camera and that camera, right? And it'll have Mima Live quite often, and what else? Oh, the computer, whatever the installed camera is for the computer. It'll say whatever that is, right? And so you're gonna have those selections. So you wanna make sure, obviously, to select the right one. What we sometimes forget, though, is the audio. There isn't usually another selection, a drop-down menu or some sort, where you select your audio. Now, there are some things that may or may not work depending on what you're at. If you're in Mimo Live, I rarely use the audio through Mimo Live, because that's the one thing I can't seem to figure out. And I've even contacted support and that kind of stuff. They've talked to me about it. From time to time it works, and other times it doesn't. I really have to have a sit down session with somebody to show me how to use the audio settings in Mimo Live. So I don't use Mimo Live for my audio, but on occasion it'll default to that for some reason, and I have to make sure that it's not on that. I have this mic right here. It's a USB connected mic directly in the computer. This is the mic I'm using now, as you can probably hear. And so I use that one. The other audio that it'll select is, again, the audio that comes from the computer, whatever that default audio is. And then there is also audio that comes from the black box, which I don't use either. I've tried to connect that too, and for some reason, I can't figure that out either. And so I, more often than not, use the mic that right here, the Technica mic that's a USB connected mic that goes directly to my computer. And so this is just a word of caution. When you're going from one thing to the next, again, I don't believe that was a Webinar Jam issue. I blamed the old version of Webinar Jam on all the other issues that I had with trying to do a webinar on computers, but not this one. This is a pretty solid product. And so I just obviously did not make sure that my audio was connected in the way that it worked. All right. What's also deceiving when you use Mima Live is that you'll see the little green, not power, but it'll be the the thing that shows you that it's working. It goes up and down when your voice makes noise, whatever that is. I know it has a name, and I've used the name. I can't think of what it is, but that'll be going up and down as you're talking. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be broadcasting out to the world, right? So you got to be very careful to make sure that your settings are what they're supposed to be. Know what your settings are for Mima Live. Know what your settings are when you're broadcasting directly from Facebook. Know what your settings are when you're using OBS. Know what your connections are when you're using Webinar Jam, and make sure that the things that need to be selected are selected before you go live. That's one thing that I had a bad habit doing for a long period of time, is that I would schedule something for, like, say 8 o'clock, and then I would sit down at about 7:59 and go, oh crap, and I would just try to go live, and then every so often there would be something that wasn't connected properly or what have you, and then I wouldn't be able to start until 8:09 or 8:10. All right, so try to whatever it is if you need to schedule your Facebook Live for 8:09 so that you'll be there on time and you can start setting up at 8 o'clock, then do that. Just don't do it at the last minute in a hurry. I took it for granted that what I was doing with Webinar Jam a little while ago was the way that it should be, and I connected. So let me go ahead and give you a couple of the links that I talked about, and I'm going to tell you really quickly why they're important. I just got to find my notes. I got a camera set up right in front of me to show the screen, because you cannot share the screen on the Facebook, and I'm not using Mima Live. I'm broadcasting directly in using my cameras here. All right, so what I want you to do now is I want you to take this link and get this book. I'm just going to tell you to do it. All right. It is Dotcom Secret. It's by Russell Brunson, and I believe you need to have it. It's free. You just have to pay for the shipping and handling. Get the book, pay for the shipping. It's like $9, $8, $9, something like that. Get that book, read that book. You may get a package in the mail that looks similar to this, and it has a lot of stuff. It's a Funnel Hacker black box, and you get some really important, good stuff if you're in the marketing business. Now, I'd end up getting ClickFunnels if I were you, if you have plans to do anything in business. Anything in business. I don't care what it is. If you have a Kajabi account and you're only planning to create products in Kajabi and market those out, you probably only need Kajabi because it has pipelines, which is similar to a ClickFunnels type of program, and that's probably all you need. But if you're in business and you plan on selling anything or doing anything outside of Kajabi, ClickFunnels is then the next thing you need to have. All right. So, but before you even do that, get the book, read the book, understand why you may or may not need it, and then make that decision. Right. I'm not telling you that you need to have ClickFunnels right now. I'm telling you, you don't need Infusionsoft right now, probably, if you're just starting off in business. That may be something when you get big and you're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of stuff online, that maybe Infusionsoft with somebody that knows how to use Infusionsoft is the right way to go. I don't know. I know that ClickFunnels is pretty powerful, and you probably don't need that. But what I am telling you is you do need this book. I think it is really good. I'm not blowing any smoke. I'm not doing anything or not saying anything that I will feel guilty about in any way, shape, or form. The book is good, and it gives you the sequence of things that you can do and maybe need to do to really begin to make it in any business, to set yourself apart from anybody else. All right. So I think that's a great place to go. Now, the other one, 22 Social, which I like to say all my broadcasts are brought to you by 22 Social, I think is a fantastic company, and that is for two reasons. The product is fantastic, and the guys that run that business are fantastic. They are great trainers. They put together a great product that has great support. And if you're running a business that has a Facebook presence, then you need to have 22 Social. That's just the bottom line. So these are pretty strong statements. I don't say need or must or can't or won't very often. But I'm telling you, if you're in business, you need to read that book by Russell Brunson. It's free. If you don't like the book, you tell him, he'll send you the money back. So that's I'm telling you, you need it. There's no there's no loss by getting it. 22 Social. This gives you, I believe, I'm not 100% sure. I think this gives you either a 14-day or 30-day trial run that you can try it and use it. And there is a little bit of, that's the only thing that I could say that there is a little bit of a learning curve to learn how to use the different. You can put a sweepstakes. You can send people into a private group and charge them to be in that group. You can create a membership site using 22 Social outside of Facebook, a Facebook group. You can hold webinars and sell webinars on Facebook using 22 Social. It's a very powerful tool, and it's very inexpensive. I want to say that it's like $24, I think, a month. All right. So again, if you're in business of any sort, these two things are a must and a need. Again, Russell Brunson is a genius. The things that he's doing and putting together, you just follow what he's doing. You just copy it, and you're going to have a really good chance of succeeding. If you're trying to build an audience, you're trying to build your authority, you're going in a new direction. I just saw my cousin, Mike Mendez, just join me. So Mike Mendez, mayor of Santa Fe Springs, legend in the Norwalk, Santa Fe Springs area. If Mike wanted to now suddenly go into the consulting business of teaching other people how to be legends in a public figure and a politician, he writes a book. He then gives it away for free in using a ClickFunnels process. He then gets them into a training course that he can give away for free also in the beginning, just a short one, maybe 4 videos, and then lead them into a bigger course, what he sells for, $300, and then a one-on-one coaching, how to succeed in politics, where he sells it to them for, $5,000, $400 an hour, whatever it is. That is the process. And you can use this process using simply using ClickFunnels. You can also do something very similar in 22 Social, and very, very simply. And you can make sure that when you're using Facebook, that you're targeting it to the specific audience that you want. So in Facebook, it allows you to use greater demographics to make sure that the people that want what it is you're offering and need what it is that you're giving or selling see it. Facebook there's no better place. LinkedIn is the next for CEOs and possibly even politicians. They're probably more often in LinkedIn, but I'm telling you, I'm guessing that they're probably also in Facebook. But Facebook marketing targeting is so powerful and so easy that I think that you would be wrong for not doing something in Facebook and being able to target, because you can make it sure that the only people that see it are they're making anywhere between $175,000 a year to $1 million a year, or even make it even more narrow. You can say that you want simply to work with men. You can say that you simply want to work with men in a certain town. You can say that you want that all like baseball, that shop at Nordstrom's. I mean, you can really narrow it down to a very specific group of people if you want to, and make it as broad as you want to, which I don't recommend. You want to narrow it down. If you try to sell to everybody, you'll sell to no one. If you try to sell to a specific group of people, you're going to do way better. All right. So I'm very sorry that first broadcast had no sound. I'm going to repeat it because there were some pretty good chunks of gold, I think, that were in that, and I'll make sure and repeat it probably tomorrow. It's getting too late in the day. I've been on this computer since about 5 o'clock this morning. And so it's time to, there goes my GoPro telling me it turned off. And so I think it's time to call it quits for the day as far as doing this kind of stuff. But I will come back and repeat that particular training that I did using Webinar Jam. Again, another great product. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and put that link in here too. So let me put the Webinar Jam link in there. So that you have that too, because again, if you're going to be teaching people and you want to do it in a way that you can teach people across the globe or in another state or even throughout California, Webinar Jam is going to be the thing you're going to want to use, because again, it's so powerful. You can give them PDFs. You can, right as you're talking, you say, you know what, download this PDF, and you give it to them, right? And it's great because now all of a sudden they're on it. Maybe you've given them, access for free, or you've charged them, $25. You don't tell them you're going to give them this free template or this free white paper, a PDF version of your book. You don't tell them, but in there you go, you know what, for joining me, here's a free book. For joining me, here's a free template that's going to make things way easier for you. You can also do polls. You can create a poll like, have you ever used this type of product before? Have you ever, if it's back to politics, have you ever run for office before? Have you struggled with getting the press to be attracted to you or listen to what it is you're saying? And the answer is yes or no, right? You can set up these polls so that you know what you're going to do for the rest of your webinar or the next webinar. And you can do that in Webinar Jam. You can do a whiteboard, which I did on the soundless webinar that I did. Sorry, looking for my Facebook page again. And so you get people to sign